What if I told you there's a gaming mouse that is lighter, has the same performance, and costs less than a Razer Viper 3 Pro? This is Lucky Strike Tech. We find niche, budget alternatives to the mainstream models here, and this is such a hidden gem. And they have multiple models as well, though the Pro is the only one that actually comes with an 8K sensor, which after using for some quite time, I'm not sure I can live without. When it comes to mainstream brands, they may have earned their name, but that just leaves deals to be had on products that are just as good for half the cost. And today I'm going to tell you why that you may want to hold off on purchasing that Razer mouse, as the EWEADN S9 Ultra is a compelling alternative for a fraction of the cost. This is the EWEADN S9. This is their Ultra. Immediately opening the box, this mouse feels extremely premium. A beautiful shine throughout, a really high quality material, and nothing here feels cheap. You can get it in 4 different colors, but the red really stood out to me, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. Giving this a good squeeze and shake, everything is solid and not out of place. Though I hear a little bit of rattle here and there, it's so small, I'll give it a pass. You can't even pick it up on the mic. So it feels solid, but how do the clicks sound and feel? Well, if I'm being honest, the scroll wheel feels really durable and high quality. The mouse clicks feel heavy duty and quick, but my only gripe is it's a little loud. But I have been kind of spoiled with multiple of my silent switch mice, such as Rapu, and also, this is a similar clicking sound but slightly less loud, the glorious Model D-. It has their standard Bluetooth 2.4 GHz connection, 500 mAh battery, up to 42,000 DPI, and KL switches rated at 100 million quicks. And my favorite feature, the DPI button at the bottom. It's customizable, meaning each time you press the button at the bottom here, the RGB color will change with the corresponding DPI setting that you associated it to in the settings. It's such a neat little feature. Rather than just guessing what DPI you're at, you can just check your favorite color. And this comes in 3 different flavors, just so you know. The standard S9, the S9 Pro, and the S9 Ultra, which is the model we have here. The S9 starts at 40, the S9 Pro at 50, and the S9 Ultra at 60. Still really affordable all the way through their lineup. And if you want to save just a few bucks, you can go with the S9 Pro. It has the same 8K polling rate, only with wireless. The wired is actually still at 1K. And the only thing you'd be missing out on is the PAW 3950 sensor on the Ultra and the extra 18,000 DPI, which means it's not going to be quite as smooth, but it could be pretty comparable. It actually weighs 6 grams lighter as well. Now, if you're already up that price though, what is an extra 10 bucks going to really hurt? The other complaint I've seen about this is the actual skates at the bottom on it comes with. Yeah, it's pretty standard, nothing fancy, nothing particularly amazing. In fact, it's almost worse than the worn out skates in the bottom of my glorious D-, but that's such an easy fix. Really glad these skates can be had for as low as 10 bucks on Amazon. All right, let's poke around in the software for a little bit in here. You'll want to set that polling rate to 8K, set your DPI settings, set any macros you want for any of the following buttons. In the config window, things get really interesting. You can set the LOD height. This allows you to pick up your mouse at a certain distance to either stop or continue tracking. Set the sensor performance that affect how your mouse tracking behaves, or set it up for glass mouse pad surfaces. You can also tweak the mode between office, high, and gaming in order to get a little more battery life. The sleep time, which I'd like to mention, yes, it does sleep, but when I wake it, it doesn't actually notice anything. No lag, no click a few times to wake it. It's just awake the moment I put my hand on it, and it's honestly impressive. And some other standard Windows settings here that every mouse has on the right, just a more convenient spot. Okay, let's do some gaming. I'll be testing 2 of my favorite FPS games, Call of Duty Warzone and Destiny 2. Sorry, no Fortnite or Valorant for folks. This video might be a little shaky, I apologize, but we're gonna be testing out first Destiny 2, then we're gonna move on to something like Call of Duty Warzone. And just starting off with this thing, I can really tell that this is kind of a game changer as far as the 8K tracking goes compared to my glorious Model D-. So we'll just see how this goes, and I'll let you know how I'm feeling. You know, I am gonna start with the glorious D-, and we're gonna see if this feels any better or worse than that mouse. I can already tell the skates are a little bit smoother than the EWEADN, but we'll see. Definitely like the skates on the glorious D-. Definitely feels a little slower and a little more shaky, even though, you know, you're gonna have some devices causing that as far as like the gameplay goes. But having used the EWEADN for so long now, this does feel just a little bit off. Definitely doesn't feel as quick, even though you could probably change that in the DPI settings, but definitely does not feel as smoothly tracking. I can definitely tell. I can definitely feel the difference between 1K and 8K polling rates, as well as the sensor in these. Very interesting, actually. Didn't expect to feel this way. Now let's switch back over to the EWEADN Yeah, immediate difference here. You can really tell it does feel different based on the sensor and the tracking. But let's get a little more gameplay in here and see how it goes. Yeah, it definitely does feel more responsive and just kind of dialed in and smooth. Easier to track one smaller area for sure. And the clicks are nicer and the mouse feels a little more responsive. Ah, crap. This is pretty nice. I feel like I'm definitely having an easier time keeping track of things, regardless of the ergonomics here. Yeah, I can definitely feel a difference. And the skates don't bother me that much. I can kind of get used to this. This is pretty nice, skate-wise. So, you know, 2-3 years later, the EWEADN S9 Ultra is outperforming a glorious D-, which was $100 at the time. I'm sure it's cheaper now, and I'm sure these models are getting outdated, but just for reference there. Okay, now we are on to Call of Duty. Let's see how this goes. Starting off with this little mouse here, the EWEADN S9 Ultra, and here we go. Now, I've got to admit that I'm an okay, decent player at Call of Duty. I don't consider myself a pro by any means, but yeah, I do want to see how this kind of controls. And already you can tell this is very smooth as far as tracking goes. Even though I'm not really trying to avoid anything, but aiming feels smooth and steady, kind of fixes a lot of the recoil. This might sound like I'm hyping this up a little bit too much, but honestly, this 8K tracking and the sensor in this thing is really nice. And it's really good quality too. Now, the one thing I can't get over is because I use so many mapping, I'm trying to hit this button to map my armor, but once again, I don't use that. Yeah, so if I'm being honest, this feels so much smoother, even in Call of Duty. I'm expecting to jump like Destiny, it's kind of funny. But this definitely feels smoother than the other one. Better tracking. Like, look how smooth I can move this. Look at that. Ready, I'm gonna go across this rock here. That's my guy breathing. Not bad. Same rock. You can see it's jumping a little bit. It's a little bit jumpy. It's not, as far as left and right, it's not as smooth in my opinion. So yeah, once again, testing this out, just the feeling of sniping, shooting, and all that stuff. This one might feel pretty decent, but this one is kind of in a league of its own with the 8K and that sensitive sensor. You can tell that tracking just feels different. Maybe it's placebo, maybe it's my fault, but I can really tell the difference. So while I don't have a Razer Viper 3 here to compare this to, on paper and from my experience, it's a really premium mouse. It even surpasses my glorious Model D-, which I paid $100 for a few years ago. And the battery life, I haven't even charged this since I bought it. And I've been using it for 2 weeks straight. My only 2 issues I ran into during this entire testing phase were the ergonomics, which are okay at best, though I get they were trying to mirror the Viper 3. And I think it would be having the same complaint with that as well. And the lack of a middle button in the middle here, which if you look at the Viper 3 also doesn't have the button, it's fine, I guess. This comes back to personal preference of mine though, and how I game, and shouldn't really influence your decision. It's just some things to keep in mind if they're very important to you. Now, having said all that, here is why I'm switching back to my Model D-. You see, when it comes to gaming for long hours and for using a particular set of style, I can't really move away from the middle button here along with the ergonomics of the D-. Honestly, this thing rocks for ergonomics. This is still a great mouse, and if it's for your hand and for your style of gaming, which is the Viper 3, this can be a great mouse for you too. But for me, it just does not fit my hand right. I just wish I could have the tech in here in this mouse instead with this body shape. So while this is a super compelling mice for the price, I still have to move back to my old one. If you guys are interested in the EWEADN S9 Ultra, check out all the links in the description down below, which I'll leave you. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. I always try to look for the budget items, the alternatives to those super expensive, overpriced name brand things. Have a good rest of your day, folks. I'll see you in the next one.